Students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a super weekend so far. I hope you're all healthy and strong. Welcome, Ken Russell Belange. Hi, Ozg. This is a members chat class. Some of you probably saw me switch it to a members chat only. We will have an all chat class coming up though in 90 minutes. So make sure to hang in there. And of course, you're more than welcome to watch. We are focusing on an IELTS speaking part 2 cue card in this class. So the IELTS has 3 parts for the speaking section for the oral interview. This is part 2, and this cue card will focus on making a complaint. Welcome, Jaineel. Hi, Rahul. Saeed, welcome everyone. Of course, today is March 5th, and again, it's a members chat class, so become a member to join the chat by clicking this, the join button next to the subscribe button. Students, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. For academic IELTS, visit us at aehelp.com, where we have lots and lots of materials for you to improve for your next IELTS. You just click this big red button to join our premium IELTS package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We're an official British Council IELTS Test Registration Center certified agents, and as you can see here, we help lots and lots of students. Here are happy, successful students. So again, make sure to join us and use this discount code. We have one more day, one last day for the code RU492 to get a 30% discount. Again, it's one-time payment. For general IELTS, it's the green background. Click that big red button there to join our premium IELTS package. And again, lots and lots of materials there for you. Our apps, Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help, Instagram, IELTS _ AE Help, GIELTS Help. Join us. Okay, that business out of the way. Speaking part 2 right now, followed by speaking part 3. Then we have a short break. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, no live class, and then I'm back on Wednesday with more live classes. If you have any questions, email me, adrian@aehelp.com. Saeed is asking a good question. Is it okay to use ain't in speaking? Saeed, ain't is very slangish. Many English speakers try to avoid it. It doesn't sound too clever, so I would say avoid ain't in your speaking section. Ain't actually means is not, but it's very slangish. I would say, Saeed, avoid using ain't in your speaking interview. Okay? All right, everyone, and that brings us to our speaking. Good question, by the way, Saeed, about the word ain't. I try not to use it myself in my speaking, okay? All right, so here we go with our speaking part 2 cue card. We have Henry here just above me presenting speaking part 2. All right, so this is the card for today. Talk about a time when you had to give a formal complaint. You should say, when was it? Why did you need to make the complaint? What did you do to complain? And what happened in the end, and how did you feel about it? So we've got a good number of questions to answer in that 1 to 2 minute response time. But before we do that, we really have to think and plan. So thinking, planning, and then answering, as you can see next to me here, it's absolutely key. So that's what we're going to do. And then once we're done that, we will take some volunteers for the cue card, for this cue card. So for volunteering, please register a free or paid account at aehelp.com, because we will use the speaking chat function on the website. Okay. All right, Crizzle, welcome to the class. Good to see so many students joining in. All right, everyone. So let's hop over to our syllabus and plan out this cue card. When you get to your IELTS speaking part 2 and you're presented with the questions, it's a really good idea to read the questions twice. So here we have the question again, okay? Talk about a time when you had to give a formal complaint. Really pay attention to the elements of this introductory statement. So it's about you, so you had to, it's in the past, it's something that already happened, and it's not just a complaint, but it's a formal complaint, okay? So something that's official where you're like, this is on record, people, I'm complaining. Okay, and then again, you should say, when was it? Why did you need to make the complaint? What did you do to complain? And what happened in the end? How did you feel about it? So members, you're planning this out. What's your next step? You've read the questions, you've read them twice, you paid really careful attention. And so what's your next step? And this step is very fast. When you practice this second step at home, then the second step only takes you a couple of seconds because you know it, okay? So step 1 was to read the questions twice carefully, because still one of the most common mistakes I see is students not answering the questions, answering off topic. So read the questions twice carefully. We already did that, so we're good to go. And the second step, again, when you practice this, it's very quick. Happens in 2 seconds. You realize that, oh, okay, this is what's going on here. This is what I need to do. What is that? I don't want to just give it to you, members, because you should know by now. So some of you, if you're not a new member, if you're a member that's been around for a few months, you should know by now what to do. Pushpendra says appearance. I don't think so. I don't think we have anything to do with appearance here. We're not really talking about a person. So in step 2, we very quickly recognize, I'm giving you a hint here, recognize that this cue card is, we don't come up with our 2 to 3 ideas yet, Saeed. We first recognize, that's right, me. We first recognize that this cue card is an event. And when we have to talk about an event, what should we include about the event? Okay, exactly, Rashika. We identified the category. So we identify that it's an event. And then once we know that this is an event, we know what talking points. Okay, so the talking points are, okay, the time of the event. That's right, Udit. So when it happened, right? So time of the event. Yeah. What else? Okay. So this should be very quick. Like I say, students, when you practice this correctly at home before your IELTS, and this is very good for your presentations in university and school as well, you should immediately have this in your head, okay? So when there is an event, you know the time. Saeed, not the origin so much, it's not an idea, but me is correct, it's the location. So where's this event happening? Okay? You'll eventually maybe talk about the origin of why it's happening, right? But yeah, the attendees, exactly. Exactly, me. So the time that it happened, the location that it happened, the people that were there, the attendees. Yeah, Bakrat, very good. The activities. So what happened at this event and the outcomes, right? The results. Very good. Your experience. Okay, so these are your key talking points. Okay, time, location, attendees, activities, experience. Okay, so in step 2, you recognize that, and you also recognize that this is in the past tense. Okay. It's a formal complaint that had already happened. All right. So again, students, for those of you who are thinking, well, Adrian, I only have 1 minute to prepare my answer. This is too slow. It's not too slow, because if you know what you're doing, this only takes you a few seconds, okay? So you know all of this. So you know, okay, this is an event, talking about a complaint. It's in the past. I got to say the time, the location, the attendees, the activities, and my experience. As long as I talk about these, I'm doing great, okay? All right, and then step 3, this is the one that can take you 20 seconds, even 30 seconds of your preparation time. Maybe it won't, maybe it will take longer, but this is the most important step here, okay? So this step can take longer, okay? This is the most important step, I would say, of all. So this is the most important step to do well, okay? If it takes you 30 seconds to make a good decision, then take 30 seconds. Okay? All right, so in step 3, what is step 3? Okay, step 3, probably many of you have guessed now. You're like, oh yeah, this is that one. This is the one where it could be a little bit tougher. Me and Pushpendra says, come up with 2 to 3 ideas. Yeah, so you might not really be able to come up right away, you know, with an idea that's where you made a formal complaint. So you have to think a little bit. You might have to get creative. You might have to just make it up. Okay, that happens. So nothing comes to mind where I had to make a formal complaint recently. I've had some good fortune and no disappointment. So what do I say? Well, I have to make it up, okay? So you must come up with at least 2 or 3 good ideas to answer, so you can choose a good one that is original, easy to talk about, and has lots of content. Okay, that's the idea. So let's think about it. And here, students, all you have to do really is visualize common situations. Okay, so for example, visualize common situations where people complain. Okay, or where people make formal complaints. I know I've got quite a few in mind. Okay, so give me some thoughts. I don't want to ruin this fun for you, because it's kind of fun, I think, coming up with ideas, especially once you've practiced a bit. So give me some common situations where people complain. Now, be specific about the complaint. So this is the location, this is the complaint. Okay. Okay. I like it, Saeed. Especially yesterday, I had the feeling that that was maybe the case, but I think it was different, right? So internet is not working properly. Gets interrupted, right? So always think about the problem, right? Off and down or slow. I like it. Yeah, that's a good one. Who is that? That's Saeed, the network company provider. So yeah, the internet is not working properly, off and down or slow. So you're complaining to the network provider. Yeah, very good. All right, Pushpendra says, complaint to the government for trash. For no garbage pickup. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, credit card company, yeah. For strange charge or an unfamiliar charge. That might be a little bit tricky to talk about, but yes, it's definitely a common one. Yeah. Okay. Faraz, bad experience at restaurant. Now you're all cooking. Lots of great ideas. Okay. All right, Mal says, police to the complaint about noisy neighbors. All right. Yeah, very, very nice. Okay, good. All right. So I think we've got a lot of good answers now. Okay, so internet not working properly, slow or down, that could be a good one. Complaining to the government for not picking up garbage in the area. Credit card company for unfamiliar charge. Bad experience at a restaurant. Okay, so let me kind of break each of these ideas and give you some feedback on each one, just to give you an idea of how I would think about these if these were coming to my mind while I was thinking of this cue card. Okay. Okay. So internet not working properly, often slower down. I would say it's good, but might need some tricky vocabulary. So if you have it, if you're a techie, if you work with computers, sure. And if you have that vocabulary, right, about internet speeds, bandwidth, okay. Downtime. So lots of different modem, for example, router. So these are all words that you might need to know to speak about this well. So careful, right? Make sure that you have the vocabulary for your choice, okay? Complaint to the government for no garbage pickup might be a bit vague. So it's good, but may lack information. So I think in this one, a lot of students might end up repeating themselves, like, and the government's not picking up the garbage, and it's really dirty, and the streets are dirty, and then the students keeps repeating, or the candidate keeps repeating. So I think it's good, but just make sure that you have enough visualization, enough content. Okay, credit card company for unfamiliar charge. This is a good one, okay. Maybe a bit tricky with vocabulary, but not as tricky as the first one, okay? So this is not bad. Bad experience at restaurant. That one's pretty good, except for it may be too common. Yeah, so it's a good one, but you know, maybe the person before you also talked about bad experience at a restaurant, and then it's very hard for the examiner not to compare candidates' band score levels. So I would say maybe stay away from that one. But noisy neighbors police, I really like that one. Okay, so this one, it's quite original. Okay, lots of content. Okay, and fairly easy vocabulary. So this would be my top choice, the noisy neighbor police complaint, okay? That's one that, you know, maybe not as many people talk about as a bad restaurant experience. It's probably easier to talk about than network problems with your internet in your home. It's probably got more content than complaining to the government for not picking up the garbage or too much garbage on the streets. And again, maybe a little bit easier than a credit card company with an unfamiliar charge on your credit card bill. So for today, let's go with noisy neighbors. And in the next step, step 4, we can now come up with some useful vocabulary. Okay, so let's do that. All right, time. You don't need to write time. This is just for your learning. Okay, so time, when this is happening, okay? Okay, so maybe they're throwing parties, right? They're having guests over, they're being really loud, and it's happening Saturday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. regularly, right? Okay. And maybe last Saturday, you had one go to 3 a.m. It was really loud. You had to call the police. Okay. Location. Okay. Again, location. You do not need to write location. I'm just doing that to remind you that when you're talking about an event, this is what needs to happen. Okay. So location. So maybe the neighbor to the right of your house, okay, and they live about 20 meters away, okay, all right, and you might want to give a little description if you've got the vocabulary, right, that you live in the suburbs on the outside of the city, okay, all right. All right. So I'm giving the notes here, but practice, members, giving notes because you will be speaking. So there will be a chance for you to speak here. Okay. All right. And then the attendees. Okay. So who's involved? My family, kids, neighbor, teenager, teens, renters. Okay, maybe they got some teens renting the house, some college students renting the house, something like that. Okay, could be a family, up to you, right? You're coming up with this, right? It's very easy to visualize. All you really have to see here is just visualize one of those classic movie scenarios where you have young adults or teens renting a house and they're just having parties all the time, right? So my family, kids, neighbors, teens, the renters, and then let's say Officer Mackenzie, for simplicity's sake, okay? So there has to be the police that's involved, obviously, as well, okay? And then the activities. So what is happening, right? So parties, drinking, loud music, screaming, okay? And then of course your complaint is happening. Don't forget about the complaint. That's the main idea of the question, okay? And then maybe a phone call and email. So you're complaining both orally and then you make an official report, okay? So those are the activities. Outcomes. Maybe a police fine, and maybe there was a warning first. Warnings followed by a fine, right? So maybe your neighbor got fined, and then noise violation. And now your neighbors are quiet on the weekends, okay? Quiet after 10, all right? So I'm guessing that you can probably see how this is all fitting together. This time, members, I just did the notes really quickly because I wanted to show you that if you have a good idea of what you are going to say and you're visualizing this, the notes, members, will come very, very quickly, okay? Pushpendra, I don't think they will give them the death penalty, okay? All right. Okay, good. Yeah, and I can see that you've got some good information. Be specific, okay? Be specific. And don't go off into kind of really strange ideas. Just keep it kind of clear in the sense of, like, if you ask 100 people about noise problems next door, what are they going to answer? Now, step 5, very importantly, step 5 is my last or sorry, my first sentence. Okay, so we get our first sentence ready to start confidently, accurately. Hi, Romaine. You don't, and think, Romaine, you don't have to get into my wife is sick and the noise really gets on her nerves. I mean, you can digress. Just don't get lost in those levels of detail, okay? So stick to the question. Only go into exceptional detail if you've really answered the question, all the questions on the cue card, and you still have time. The examiner is still looking at you with big eyes like, hey, are you going to talk more? And then you can go into some more details, like this was especially a problem because my wife had come down with the flu and she wasn't able to rest and get better. And then you can go into those kinds of details, Romaine. But otherwise, just stick to answering the time, the location, the attendees, the activities, and then the experience, okay? So start with the first sentence, have that ready. So I clearly remember Okay, so keep that first sentence quite clean and simple. This is my first sentence here, my clean, simple sentence. I clearly remember having to submit a formal complaint to my local police station about my noisy neighbors. All right. Okay. So, one more time, very, very simple. I clearly remember having to submit a formal complaint to my local police station about my noisy neighbors. Okay, all right. So here, basically, all you have to do to get that band 9 is go through the notes in the order of time, location, activities, attendees, activities, and results. So just go through those steps. And if you miss one, it's okay. You can add it in after, okay? So I'm going to write some sentences here. You do the same, members. I will be looking for some suggestions here. So if you have a good sentence, I will take it out of the chat. And I'm just going to type away here a little bit. You can repeat after me. You can say these sentences as I type them. So practice your English, okay? So speak with me, all right? So some young adults had moved into the house next to mine about a year ago, and they constantly had at least half a dozen friends come over almost every Saturday for a party. They would get really noisy from about 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. and this became extremely disturbing for my family. Initially, I tried speaking with the owner, but this did not put a stop to the partying. So I had to call the police and make a formal complaint with Constable Mackenzie. Okay. So I'm just moving along. I'm visualizing this. I'm visualizing what's happening. Okay. And going through the concept of time, location, attendees. Okay, so who's involved? Okay. All right, let's see what we have here. So Rahul says, I remember the formal complaint that I had submitted to the local police station about my noisy neighbors. Rahul, very good. Just remember, not I have submitted, I had submitted. You already finished that act of submission. Okay. Bharat says, I can remember that I had complained about my neighbor for alcohol ban in society a couple of years ago to the municipal office, not municipal corporation of the city, Bharat. That's a bit strange, so don't go off topic. Osk says, last week I made a formal complaint to my local police station about my neighbors' endless, noisy, late night parties. Osk, that's really nice. That's a really good first sentence. Okay, I like it. Endless, noisy, late night parties. Very nice description. Okay. Rahul continues with, about a year ago, we had some teenage neighbors who used to party during the weekends, creating a lot of noise. Whereas I used to prepare for my exams. I tried talking with them informally for the first go, but to no avail. Rahul, very nice. Okay, I like it. Okay, Rashika says, last Saturday I had made a complaint about my noisy neighbors at my local police station. Very good, Rashika. Okay, good start. All right, very nice, everyone. So you're on the right track. It seems like you have clarity. You're like, okay, I'm clear on what I need to do. Okay, all right, so I had to make a call. All right, I let them know that my neighbors in the suburbs of Victoria, I'm just using the city where I live, but you can use wherever you live, Victoria, just to the right of my house, had been drinking yelling and playing music so loud that my wife and 2 children were not able to get to sleep. Okay, all right, so the activities, right? The police asked me to fill out a formal complaint and to film the partying using my mobile phone. So I followed their instructions and sent them the video. The next week, Constable, or you can say officer if we don't want to use that, Officer Mackenzie, called me and let me know that they had given my neighbors a warning. Unfortunately, the partying continued the next weekend. So I called the station and officers came to the location. came to our neighborhood and find my neighbor. This finally put an end to the partying, and we are now able to get sound sleep on the weekends. Okay, so kind of just visualizing this, going through step by step, and here at this point I'm really paying careful attention to the cue card. So I feel like I've answered all the main talking points. So time, location, attendees, activities, experience. And now I want to make sure that when I look at the cue card, I've answered all of these questions. So when was it? That was the time I answered that question, okay? I answered the question of a formal complaint because I had to file a report. I sent a video, so it was a formal complaint. Why did I need to make the complaint? I answered that. What did I do to complain? I definitely answered that. What happened in the end and how did I feel about it? Okay, so I answered what happened in the end, but I didn't really answer how I felt about it. So here, I might take another moment to just really clearly explain to the examiner that I'm paying attention to all the questions in the cue card, and I can answer this last one about how I felt about it if the examiner hasn't stopped me. If the examiner stopped me at this point, I'm probably still doing okay. All right, Amrit, thank you so much for the Super Chat donation. That's great. I appreciate the support. Okay, so in the end, I felt a bit bad about it because I don't want to be in conflict with my neighbors, but at the end of the day, it was still better knowing that my family could get good rest. Okay, so yeah, maybe you don't feel great about pushing your neighbors to stop partying, and we all remember being young and liking a good party, but at the end of the day, you have to make sure your family gets good rest, right? So that's kind of it, and that's all you need to say. At this point, it's a very good chance that the examiner will stop you and then continue with part 3 questions. And part 3 questions will be the next class. So keep this in mind, okay? We're going to practice this now, students. So here we go. Let's speak and repeat here. And I can see lots of good answers. Ozg, Rahul, Ken, Rashika, some really nice components to this answer here. So that's very good. You will have a chance to practice this. So keep those sentences in mind because I'm going to be looking for volunteers here in just a moment, okay? But before we do that, let's speak and repeat. Okay, so let's go through this sentence by sentence, all right? So read with me, speak with me. I clearly remember having to submit a formal complaint to my local police station about my noisy neighbors. Some young adults had moved into the house next to mine about a year ago, and they constantly had at least half a dozen friends come over almost every Saturday for a party. They would get really noisy from about 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., and this became extremely disturbing for my family. Initially, I tried speaking with the owner, but this did not put a stop to the partying. So I had to call the police and make a formal complaint with Constable Mackenzie. I let them know that my neighbor in the suburbs of Victoria, just to the right of my home, had been drinking, yelling, and playing music so loud that my wife and 2 children were not able to get to sleep. The police asked me to fill out a formal complaint form and to film the partying using my mobile phone. So I followed their instructions and sent them the video. The next week, Officer Mackenzie called me and let me know that they had given my neighbors a warning. Unfortunately, the partying continued the next weekend. So I called the police station, and officers came out to our neighborhood and fined my neighbor. This finally put an end to the partying, and we are now able to get sound sleep on the weekends. In the end, I felt a bit bad about this because I don't want to be in conflict with my neighbors. But at the end of the day, it was still better knowing that my family could get good rest, and this wouldn't be a problem. Okay, your time is up. I will now take back the questions and we will continue with part 3. Okay, but we're not there yet, everyone. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to practice. So I'm going to give a chance for our members to volunteer and respond to this cue card, either with the same topic, noisy neighbors, with the same content or with different content, or you can choose a different topic altogether. It's completely up to you. So if you want to talk about an unfamiliar credit card charge, you can do that. If you want to talk about your network being interrupted, you can do that. So to volunteer, members, again, you want to register a free or a paid account at aehelp.com. Log into your My Student account. Click on Student Partner Speaking, and very importantly, enable your microphone, okay, on your browser. Test it with another person. Just say, hello, can you hear me? And if they say yes, then you're good to go. Then message Master. You will see my handle as Master, and just say, I want to volunteer, and then I can ping you, okay? So let's go over to aehelp.com. You can use this website. You can use gieltshelp.com as well. I'm going to use aehelp.com here, and then I'm going to log into my student account. Okay. All right. And then in my student account, I have this Student Partner Speaking. If you're on a computer, it will probably look like that. Okay, click on that Student Partner Speaking there. Accept, and you're ready to go. And I can see we've got Ken in here, Dr. Rutva, Shahidur, Udit, Kulwinder, Saeed, Adan, Rahul. So I'm looking, Khadija and me, Ozgnur. So I'm looking for members first. This is a members chat class, so members have first priority. Okay. All right. And Saeed is one of our members. So and Saeed was the first here. So let's see if we can reach out to Saeed. Okay, Saeed, are you ready? Saeed says he's ready. I just want to double check. Okay, Saeed, let's do this.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Saeed. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you, sir?
I'm doing quite well also. Thank you for asking. My weekend is fairly good so far. All right, Saeed, thanks for being the first to volunteer. So I'm going to get back to the cue card, and then I will start you off for this cue card response. So if you want, you can go with the same topic that we just discussed, noisy neighbors, or if you want to try a different response altogether, it's up to you. I'll let you choose, okay?
All right.
All right. So talk about a time when you had to give a formal complaint. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Well, I clearly remember writing a complaint letter to our local internet providing company called Uz Online about providing me with poor internet connection. It was last month I faced with an ad where new tariff was advertised by that company. It had pretty high internet speed connection and was actually pretty affordable. I was interested in that offer and eventually decided to install it. It was working perfectly fine, but after a week or so, it started having some issues. It often caused fluctuations, which resulted in dropping the network. And since I'm a working person and my job is closely connected to the internet, I wasn't able to finish my work because of that network problem. So I decided to write a formal complaint letter to that company. I went to their official sites and gave the detailed information of what actually went wrong. And I clearly remember that I let them know that I will stop using their uh, service with unsatisfactory notes. Um, After about an hour, customer assistance called me and we discussed about that issue. They said that they will fix everything tomorrow, and a day after it was fixed and it's still working perfectly fine. Um, in the end, it was my first time to write formal complaint actually, and I'm pretty happy I did that.
Okay, your time is up. I'll stop you there and take back the questions, and now we will continue with part 3. For this part, I will ask you some questions related to this topic, and some questions connected to your response. Okay, that was good, Saeed. That was very, very good. Solid band 7.5 to 8, I would say. So if I break down your response, I would say that your coherence and fluency, coherence is 8, fluency was about a 7.75. Some parts you were a little bit jittery on your fluency, so it wasn't quite as rapid fire as a band 8 or a band 9 would be, but I thought it was quite good. I could be even wrong there. Your vocabulary was, I think, a band 7 for this topic. It's a tricky topic. So like for instance, you use the word a new tariff, right?
Yeah, tariff.
And that's in my part of the world anyway, that's not commonly used. I do know that in Europe they kind of use that as the internet package, but here we would say a new package was advertised, a new type of package or new type of service. Tariff is I don't think it's actually used in English the same way that it's used internationally. Okay, so it's a tricky one. So there were a couple of places where I could feel like some better vocabulary could have been applied. But that's not the end of the world. So I think your score overall is fantastic, and your pronunciation I think is a band 8 clearly. So it's nice and clear. And I understand all of your words, and it's more or less easy for me to understand what you're saying for sure. Okay. So overall, very good. You talked about the time. You talked about the attendees. You talked about the location. I think you can practice being even clearer on going through those steps. So for example, location, I went to their office that is about a 30-minute drive from my house to complain to them in person as well as on their website. But overall, I think that was quite good. So any questions about this response?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, Saeed, I think it's quite good. So what I would do, Saeed, to push your score even higher is when you do this kind of practice at home, record this response. So read the cue card, read the talk about a time when you had to give a formal complaint, and then read the questions. And then just like what you did right now, say the 2-minute answer, record it all on your phone. And then when you have some time a little bit later on, listen back to it and then think about, okay, how could I have made that a little bit clearer? How could I have made that a bit smoother? What words could I have used? Like, for instance, how could I use correlative conjunctions? So not only was it really annoying that my service was being interrupted because I couldn't watch a movie in the evening with my friends, but even more importantly, I need the internet for my daily work. Especially these days, I'm working from my home office. So notice I'm using that not only, but also to really emphasize the points, right? So just kind of to smooth out the language and make it even more powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right. But overall, very good, Saeed. It's just a matter of practice. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. You're welcome. Okay, Saeed, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too, sir.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye for now. All right, that was Saeed. Give Saeed a thumbs up. That was awesome. He did a great job. Went original. And, one point, again, for Saeed, that was really great, is not a lot of repetition. So he repeated a couple of phrases slightly, but the information was new. And that's when the examiner will give you that 2 minutes to finish what you're saying when you're giving new information like that. Okay, let's take another one of our members. All right. So Ozg, let's give Ozg a chance here. I believe this is Ozg, our member. So Ozg, yes you can. Are you ready? Okay, so this is one of the benefits of being a member. You have a better chance of volunteering for these sessions as well. Okay, all right. So hi, Ozg. I hear that you picked up, but I still cannot hear you. I'm not sure why. Make sure you're only using audio, not video, okay? Ozg, can you hear me? Do not try to use video because I will not be able to connect with you with video since YouTube is using my video. Ozg, what you can do is send me an email and then I can troubleshoot this with you. Okay, so figure out what's going on so that next time you can volunteer. So send me an email and then we'll figure out what's going on so that you can volunteer next time. Okay, all right. Okay, Me is our member as well. Let's see if Me is available. I don't think Me's really volunteered for, maybe once for part 2. Okay, are you ready? Me? Okay, here we go. Hi, Me. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad to hear strong confidence in your voice. That's a good way to start. Okay, Me, I'm going to get right into it. Have you volunteered me for a part 2 before?
Yes, I think once.
Okay, great. So good for you to come back and make another go at it. That's the way to do it. That's the way to improve. Okay, I will start you off. Give me a nice full answer. Again, you can choose the same concept that we've been working with or a different one. Okay, up to you.
Okay.
So here we go. Talk about a time when you had to give a formal complaint. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
3 years ago, I had to submit a complaint to the police officer about my noisy neighbors. At that time, they threw a party every weekend from 10 to 3 a.m. in the morning, and I couldn't sleep a wink, and I felt really tired and lack of energy for the next day. After 2 or 3 weeks, I couldn't bear it anymore, so I gathered some other neighbors and we decided to call the police and send them an email so that they solve the problem faster. Um, I sent them an email with the location that we lived in the suburb of Ho Chi Minh City and the recording of the noise of the house and also the video recording. And in the end of the day, they had to receive warning letters from the police, and they had to um, pay $100 fine if they did it again. And I felt really pleased, along with my neighbors. We feel really pleased because at least finally we can have a good night's sleep.
That was very good. Yeah, that would be like again like a same as Saeed. It would be at least a 7.5, probably closer to an 8 me. That was really good. So you went with a similar answer, not the same. So same topics, but different details, which was really good, okay? And that's a great way to practice. Fantastic fluency this time, Me. I can tell that you're practicing lots. Your fluency is increasing. Today you had the best fluency so far that I've heard from you. And what was really an improvement today, Me, that I heard in your speaking is that you weren't really thinking about, I could feel this, that you weren't really thinking about the English. You were just thinking about the content. And that's a very good evolution in language learning when that happens, where you're starting to think much more on content rather than thinking about the English. And I really felt that. Like, I felt like the English was just coming to you naturally, and you were able to focus much more on just what you're saying, like the information itself. Really good use of quantitative language as well, Meme. So you started off by saying 3 years ago, right away quantifying, right? So you didn't just say years ago or some time ago, but you actually said 3 years ago very specifically, which was really nice. And then you kept with that. So you actually said, they're partying from 10 till 3 a.m. You made a correction there that was good. You said that they would get $100 fine. So you really paid attention to using numbers to aid the clarity of your response. And that was brilliant. That kept it very clear and clean. There were a couple of slight grammatical mistakes. They had to receive a warning letter from the police. It was a couple of just slight oddities, but nothing major. So your grammar mistakes weren't overly confusing. They were just a little bit unnatural. And that again comes with practice and listening back and writing it out, and then seeing what's going on. Great use of vocabulary. I really like how you use this idiom, I couldn't sleep a wink. I don't hear it often, that expression, but it is a good expression. I think maybe the Brits use it more than us Canadians, but a wink, of course, a wink is like when you're winking at someone, it's just a quick closing of the eye. And I couldn't sleep a wink is an expression that means you basically get no rest at all. And then here again, you said after 2 or 3 weeks, I couldn't bear it. So nice use of quantitative language, nice use of the natural language, couldn't bear it. Or another way to say that would be, I couldn't put up with it. Okay, that would be an alternative way to say that. Both are okay. I'm just giving you some more vocabulary here. So I couldn't put up with it. So put up with it or bear it are both phrasal verbs that express not able to cope with the situation. Very nice, Me. Very nice. Keep practicing. I think for you at this point, it's kind of the same advice as for Saeed. Just record, listen, repeat, try to smooth it out, try to add in even more connectors, more subordinating conjunctions, more correlative conjunctions to make it even smoother, to emphasize even more. And you're definitely in the right direction. Okay. Do you have any questions about your response?
I had a question about my intonation. Last time you told me that my intonation is unnatural. So about this point.
Better. It's better. It's better. It's still not perfect, Me. So I'm not going to lie to you. It's still not perfect, but it's better. It was smoother. Keep working on it. Keep practicing it. So keep focusing on intonating nicely for sure. Okay.
Okay. And if I look at the cue card and the notes too many times, so will I be lose the marks for that?
No. So if you're speaking like the way you just did, if you're looking at the cue card and you're looking at your notes, but you're speaking nice and fluently like the way you just did, it's totally fine. Okay. It is okay. That's why those are there. So the cue card, the notes are there for you to look at it so that you can speak smoothly in a clear, structured way. So no, there is no rule that you have to stare like this into the examiner's eyes while you're speaking, right? So you want to, look up a couple of times, like definitely look at them, right? But it's okay if you look at the notes in the cue card.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot, Me. Have an awesome weekend.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Okay, bye for now. All right, so that was Me. Give Me a thumbs up. See, that's practice, right? So Me keeps coming back to these classes, keeps practicing, and ends up with better scores. Okay, students, I'm going to stop with part 2 there for now, but don't worry, I'm coming back with part 3 in 30 minutes. So members that I didn't see or members that I didn't chat with right now, I'll be looking for you in part 3, which is coming up. And part 3, I will focus a lot on question and answer session, okay? So worry not. And I promise that next time when we do part 2, for the members that didn't get a chance today, I will focus on them, okay? Eye contact sight is important, but it's not crucial that you stare at the examiner all day long. Okay, everyone, so be sure to visit us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS, glshelp.com for general IELTS. Try out this speaking, student partner speaking function in the next 30 minutes because I will be back in 30 minutes and we're going to do lots more of this Q&A with speaking part 3, okay? Romaine, I'll be looking for you as well, all right? Again, for 1 day only, you can use this discount code RU492 on the website. So make sure to use it when you sign up for the premium package. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out for half an hour, but I'll be back, so don't go too far. Bye for now.